Welcome back. Welcome back to Living in Mexico. I'm Ana Maria Salazar. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. We got to pay attention to this. And I'm talking about the constitutional reform that was finally submitted to the Mexican legislators this week, finally by President Claudia Sheinbaum. And we really need to pay attention to this. Why? Because it could dramatically change the electoral process in Mexico. For those of you who are frequent listeners of this show, we spoke about in general terms what appeared to be President Claudia Sheinbaum's proposal and why it was so controversial, particularly for the allies, the parties that are allies of Morena. But the more you read the proposal, the more you try to understand what the government is trying to get approved, it really raises a lot of questions as to one, whether it's going to get sufficient support, and two, what does this mean for Mexico's democracy? Joining us once again, I really appreciate him taking the time to join us this weekend, Benito Nacif. You know him well. He's been joining us throughout the years since he was part of the Federal Electoral Institute, or what was the Federal Electoral Institute at the time. Benito, once again, welcome to the show. Walk us through what finally is in this draft bill that was finally presented by President Claudia Sheinbaum this week. I don't think they, I don't, I don't see what was negotiated or what was changed. I don't know if the president believes she can just ram this through Congress and that the allies are going to approve it, or she's willing to accept defeat in terms of those parts of the legislation that she seems most interested in making sure it gets passed. Welcome to the show, Benita. Just walk us through what's in this proposal.
Hi, Ana Maria. Thank you for your invitation. Um, well, this is a bill, an executive bill um, for constitutional amendments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is important because some parts of the project that President Sheinbaum has regarding the electoral institutions will be dealt with
Mm-hmm.
uh, um, what we call in Mexico secondary legislation.
Mm-hmm.
This is constitutional legislation, which is proposing to change uh,
Mm-hmm.
11 articles of the Mexican Constitution, um, and the aspects that I would like to highlight are basically uh, four. One has to do with the composition of the Senate. The second one, the electoral rules that apply uh, for the Chamber of Deputies, the 500 member Chamber of Deputies. Uh, uh, Second, the um, the funding of, or the public funding of political parties. Um, uh, in fourth place, we have all the regulations regarding um, the electoral administration,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that is to say, INE. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, we have regulations regarding mass media, especially
Mm-hmm.
radio and TV.
Mm-hmm.
So let's uh, begin with the Senate. Basically,
Okay.
we have now a 128 member Senate,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, 32 senators are elected in a national circumscription.
Mm-hmm.
And what President Sheinbaum is proposing is to simply get rid of those
Mm-hmm.
and reduce the size of the Senate to 96 members. Uh,
Okay.
uh, Basically, if this measure is put into in the Constitution, um, the Senate will be a less proportional with regard to the voting to the vote
Hmm.
in general elections.
So there
And
would be basic that with less senators, the expectation is that there's going to be less representation from the opposition. I mean, it's kind of
less
is that
proportionality, let's
yeah,
let's put it
yeah.
that way. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that means that small parties, like some of them allies of
Mm-hmm.
the of Morena and
Mm-hmm.
President Sheinbaum, like the Labour Party, basically they will be eradicated from the Senate because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the electoral support in the states
Mm-hmm.
to win majorities or to uh, gain a second place and be
Mm-hmm.
like the first minority in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so basically, for instance, the Labour Party will have no representation in the Senate if we apply these rules that President Sheinbaum is proposing. Um, let's move to the Chamber of Deputies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is more complicated, more difficult to explain, but basically, we now have 200 um, uh, proportional representation seats in the Chamber of Deputies
Mm-hmm.
and 300 single member district seats.
Mm-hmm.
What President Sheinbaum is proposing it's that these 200 proportional representation seat be elected in two different elections. One is we can use
Mm-hmm.
the results of the single member districts
Mm-hmm.
to create a list of losers, so candidates
Mm-hmm.
of each party that didn't win their districts, but they had a good result.
Mm-hmm.
And then you uh, uh, um, create a list according to uh, the vote that they obtain
Mm-hmm.
in the districts. And that list will be used to allocate seats to individual candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a list that is not made by the party leadership, but the voter himself. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is, I mean, uh, it sounds very good. Yeah, the intention that we
Mm-hmm. Well,
of
the president,
reducing.
yeah, the president keeps on saying that she wants to force everyone to campaign,
Yeah,
to be on the streets campaigning so that when they get elected or they do go to Congress or the Senate, that they are individuals that understand local politics, and that they are, that they are truly not, kind of selected from a list without having any experience in the political process. I think that's the president's argument. So that's why it sounds good, but it's not good,
well, it's not good depending on who you are. I mean,
right?
if you are a party like Morena, who uh, usually has a very good performance in the
Mm-hmm.
uh, individual single
Mm-hmm.
member districts, that's fine. But if you are one of its allies, small
Mm-hmm.
allies, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
like the Labour Party or even the
Green
Green
Party.
Party,
Mm-hmm.
um, this change can get you into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because now that you have five circumscriptions where you elect only uh, 20 instead of 40
Mm-hmm.
members, then uh, you need a larger share of the vote to qualify
Mm-hmm.
for uh, to obtain a seat in that
Mm-hmm.
circumscription.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you're going to need 5% of the vote, yeah, in order to be able to get one seat in that circumscription. And in most circumscriptions, we have five. Um, the Labor Party doesn't have that 5% of the vote. So that
Okay.
means that the only way to get a position in the Chamber of Deputies in that
Mm-hmm.
circumscription, you will have you will depend on um, uh, the largest remaining,
Mm-hmm.
which
Well,
is basically luck.
yeah, well, but that how does that affect the PAN, the PRI, and Movimiento Ciudadano MC parties? I mean,
Well, PAN is a larger party.
mm-hmm.
I would say it's a mid-sized party, and uh, it will probably benefit from this,
Mm-hmm.
but not if you are a small party,
Mm-hmm.
which is around or below 5% of the vote in that
Mm-hmm. That
in on average,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and specifically in one circumscription.
Mm-hmm.
And so mid-sized parties and large parties will do okay. Yeah, they will benefit. Yeah,
But
but
it's the allies. It's particularly the Labor Party that says
absolutely,
just we're not going to grow. And the Green Party, are they supporting the president's proposal, or they're going to support some of them, or we
they are
don't know.
not.
They're not going to support.
Not totally. I mean, there are parts
Mm-hmm.
of the bill that they don't object now,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they say, "Well, we want to reduce uh, INE spending,"
Mm-hmm.
and I would say, I mean, the Green Party is okay, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but if you cut public funding of political parties, as the presidential bill is proposing, then the
They
Green
said no.
Party, the Labor Party, we
Well,
were
everybody.
partners.
Yeah,
Yeah, everybody.
everybody's saying except Morena,
I don't
because they're
think
they
even Morena is happy. I mean, they have so
Mhm.
much money uh, uh,
Already.
already. They don't terribly mind if they reduce the public funding,
Mhm.
but they don't especially like it.
Mm. So, the president has argued that this has to be done because Mexico's electoral process is the most expensive in the world. And there's been a debate whether that is true or not. I mean, is it?
I mean, it depends on how you count it.
Right.
And there are many things that electoral institutions do in this country that in other countries
They don't
uh,
do.
they don't.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that it is not being done by anyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's only that the electoral institutions don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
One example is the voter ID. In Mexico, the voter ID is the official ID.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, enrolling citizens and updating its information in that
Right.
registry
Mm-hmm.
costs a lot of money. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
usually in Europe, that is in charge of the Interior Ministry.
Right.
Yeah, in Mexico, it's INE who does it,
Wow.
and that is about one third of the budget.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of money. Yeah, if you
So,
count that, well,
mhm.
it's expensive. Yeah, but I don't think it
Mm.
should be part of that arithmetic. Yeah.
Joining us today is Benito Nacif. He's a former commissioner at the Federal Electoral Institute. Um, Benito, of course, the other part of it is to cut down political spots on TV and radio. And I don't think everybody's terribly upset about it. How important was that, or how important is that?
Um, I don't think it's very important because basically during the period where INE um, uh, administers the 48 minutes that now
Mhm.
uh, is part of the official
Mhm.
um, airtime. Um, Basically, the people, it's saturated,
Mhm.
oversaturated with
Mhm.
political ads.
You know, the part that I thought the government would be most concerned of has to do of the link of political parties and candidates with organized crime, especially
Mhm,
in this environment in which there's a lot of pressure from the US government to reduce those links dramatically. And of course, there's a whole sanction process that the United States has been promoting, which could affect, all these candidates, or whether they have bank accounts, or they have property in the United States. But what the U.S. has been doing is basically yanking their visa away. So it's kind of a reputational problem. Um,
mhm.
but the law really doesn't, at least the way it's being proposed, doesn't do anything about that, right? Am I correct?
No, I don't
Mhm.
think there is a specific measure
Mhm.
uh, directed to prevent uh, links between candidates
Mhm. I have so many
and the
questions.
organized crime.
I have so many questions, and we're running out of time. What is the purpose? Why is the president just really using a lot of political capital to get this law passed at a time where even the allies, those two parties that are very important for Morena because it gives it the supermajority it needs for constitutional reforms, do not seem to support her. And of course, it's not clear in the long run, what does this mean for elections? I mean, they become much more complicated, but
Mhm.
are we talking about a reform that will strengthen Morena's, assuming Morena continues in this process of strengthening its electoral base. But does this assure Morena to have a supermajority in the next couple of elections? Is that what this is all about?
Well, it increases the
Mm-hmm.
probability of that, especially in the Senate. So, if this bill passes as it is,
Mm-hmm.
um, both chambers will be um, less. Uh, the level of proportionality
Mm-hmm.
in both chambers will decrease significantly, and the probability for Morena to achieve a qualify or a special or constitutional majority in both
Mm-hmm.
chambers will be higher. That's
Mhm. No,
um,
but this is tearing up the party. I mean, at least the allies. And I think even within Morena, there's some questions as to whether this is the best reform. So why do it? I'm still mystified why the president's pushing for these reforms, especially right now. I mean, does she want to make sure that the 2027 elections reflect these reforms? Is that what this is all about?
well. We can only guess because and use and base our guess
Mm-hmm.
on what President Sheinbaum had revealed in their daily
Mm-hmm.
um,
Press
press
conference, yeah.
conferences.
Mhm,
Um, and she has insisted that she feels um, she has a commitment
mhm,
that derives from um, the acceptance of her candidacy to her presidential candidacy,
mhm,
and that she has a mandate
mhm,
to promote a electoral reform
mhm,
in uh, the direction that the bill that she presented
mhm.
it's pointing.
But it doesn't seem, I'm not too sure there's a lot of voters out there that really understand what this is reform is only about. I
Yeah.
mean, I think maybe they would understand no more proportionally elected legislators. You know, they're gone. But this legislation really doesn't do it. It just makes it much more confusing to understand what's going on. I mean, I guess the voters would like for the government to pay less money to the parties or to make sure elections are less expensive if they thought that money that was saved would benefit them.
Mm.
I mean, but you know what I think most voters would like to see, I think, is legislation that would assure that the criminal organizations are not running the elections or local elections, or that they're linked to local candidates. I mean, I think that would be something that most voters would like. Benito, am I wrong? I mean, I'm just trying to understand the
Yeah.
purpose of this.
But now, Ana Maria, I think the President Sheinbaum is politically invested
Yeah, she is.
in
Mm-hmm.
in this project.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, she made the whole thing very public when she
Mm-hmm.
announced the Presidential Committee for Electoral
Mm-hmm.
Reform.
Right.
And now that she has formally introduced the
Mm-hmm.
bill to the Chamber of
Mm-hmm.
Deputies,
Uh-huh.
well, she
She
has put
so
her
foot
political
down. Yeah.
capital on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
table and said
We
publicly, I'm going to go for it.
uh-huh. We're literally
And she
running
could
out of
end up
time.
being a loser in this case.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. We're running out of time. Yes or no? Do you think most of this legislation is going to be passed?
I think there is a possibility for a deal, a sort
Mm-hmm.
of B plan
Mm-hmm.
that has some elements
Mm-hmm.
of what President Sheinbaum wants,
It
but
could be.
it's rid of um,
Mm-hmm.
the most aggressive aspects
Mm-hmm.
that affect the interests of its allies.
Mm. I'm still so confused. But Benito, it's always great to have you on the show because I'm confused because some aspects of this, of the proportional candidates or who are elected with the proportionality. I mean, it's still hard to understand. I'm still having trouble understanding. But more importantly, I just don't understand what's the ultimate end game of the president because she could potentially lose a lot of credibility when she has these smaller parties that have supported her stepping away and basically starting to run their own campaigns in other states that may be of interest for Morena.
Mm.
We're just going to have to watch it very closely. Benito Nacif, he's one of the former commissioners, counselors on the Federal Electoral Institute, and wow, it's still I can't believe this is one of the issues that we're not paying enough attention to here in Mexico. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are going to go to a commercial break, so please stick around. I'm Ana Maria Salazar, and you're listening and watching Living in Mexico.